Hi there. I'm going to add to some of the updates and enhancements that I've made from last week's energy transformations into this week's classwork form for Introduction to Waves. We are using Google Forms to not only deliver assessments, but now the actual lesson and provide a lot of differentiated choice and content along the way. This has been an amazing solution because we are now not having to worry about students getting confused or lost, and we're assigning one link in Google Classroom. Plus, I just like it. So this video relies in part of you having seen last week's video with adding a section, then, adding a section, then using a multiple choice part, then using this button to go to section based on answer. I use description almost all the time now, which is this area right here. And then then directing their learning to wherever they're going to go in the Google form. Notice we have Spanish now. We were going to add it as a separate section, but we have it as a form now because it messed up the points values if we had them all in one spot. I'm told that this is, since it's a lesson delivery system with advanced organization where they're interacting with instructional text, inquiry, and phenomenon-based approaches by capturing their learning at the beginning of the learning cycle, discrepant events with the beginnings of argumentation. You're going to see me develop this even further next week. And guiding them through differentiated choice and content. All that's just good education. So this form can be used for more than just science. And in fact, if you want the skeleton form, you can have it where you would then copy it and develop it into any subject that you want to teach it with. So I'm really excited to see that development. It's just anything to make it easier for us, our fellows, and our students most especially. So using all the tools a little more effectively, but really wanted to focus on how we're using feedback for additive instruction. So not only is it correct and incorrect, but it's designed to be read specifically as part of the lesson. Since they're going to be going through anyway, might as well make sure that there's additional videos and specific feedback that will help them at that time. Understanding that they're not going to read it until they go through the whole lesson, but at least we can control the amount of front loading or just basic vocabulary as it gets more complex through the lesson. So when they do go through and read through it again, at least they've had that exposure, and then they're getting into some of those more complicated words. Keeping up with the choice, which is kind of fun. So here on the left, I've given the choice to either go to the to keep going or a break. That's definitely been the most popular thing, is that students love the break. However, I also want to advertise that they can go do additional content in the Science Cafe for fun, but in this case, I don't tell them that. So they go to the Science Cafe, but then well, here, I'll show you. So here's a sim where they get a content-based video. When they're done with the simulation, in this case just for transverse waves, then they're invited to go check out the next type of wave, but that they think they're just proceeding in the lesson when indeed it takes them to the Science Cafe, but it's optional. So at least it's like an advertisement for the Science Cafe. And then instead of it taking them back to where they were, this week I have them just moving forward to the next part of the lesson. There, I think, were 3 simulations, and that can be a little much. So we changed it to where in the elaborative portion of the 5E, they're given a real world scenario. We changed this to a more demo content-based video. Then they apply it to a prompt of which speaker to buy, in this case being a sound technician. And if they want to continue playing with the simulation, then they can go to it in the Science Cafe, keeping up with that differentiation and answer feedback. Also bringing in more for social emotional learning and those connections, which we know are key, especially right now. So bringing that in, as well as everyday examples in science, which and how it applies to their everyday lives, and the history of scientists. So Feynman, in this example, built from last week's work on Einstein. So I'll make next week's work make sure to align from something that Feynman did. So they'll see that evolution of the growing scientific body over time. I keep wanting to take you to, the vocabulary roundup. It's nice to be able to have an interactive form of vocabulary instead of it just being a pull down multiple choice, and the optional extensions, which they can do at home. They're encouraged to keep journals and go do additional research, etc. So the form is great. It's checked off a lot of boxes for everybody. But I also like to show how you can use this export sheet. You may be using these to provide feedback as well. That's probably a good improvement. But I like to go here, and then you're only given the choice at the beginning. You only get this choice once. So I like to choose an existing spreadsheet, and I use the same sheet year round. I don't export it per. So I have the same sheet, and then it gets imported as a new tab on the exact same sheet. So I can click through student progress for the entire year very easily, all in one sheet. And for distance learning, that's been even more helpful because, as an example, I can synthesize all those sheets into one and then color code them and see. I like green plus or yellow plus blue equals green. So I can see the task is green, that's their final task, but yet the blue and the yellow are working up to get to those tasks. So just a little tip if you haven't discovered that yet, it's something that works really well for me. If I use or don't use Google grade importing. So even more improvements, more to come. Keep that good feedback coming. If this is something that works for you, that's fantastic. And if this is something that you want to have the skeleton copies so you can use this for your own classroom or own setup, that's great. Just let me know. Thank you. Bye-bye.